Okay. Where to start?
All right. So the checks and balances, distributed, automated, rule by AI is the topic. I'm going to share my screen here. Oops. You can see that.
Yep, I got it.
So on the left is generated. So what I did was I took our current canon of definitions and lore, and then added in our previous conversation, and then asked it to generate governance for that, which hopefully you've seen was committed, and then using that governance, concat that together, and then compare it and contrast it against problems that have come up with similar things in the past. For example, the fights with Cosmos at the moment, which seem to be rampant, and then talked about, okay, so given that we want to give as much control over to AI as possible, what do you suggest? And on the left, and this is still a work in progress, on the left is where I left it last night, where I finally ran out of luck and had to not work. A couple of things I would point out is this was a very strong signal about liquid democracy, which it can be put over to AIs, could be put over to conglomerates, but it seems to be very keen on some kind of human oversight and not entirely autonomous. But
How do you feel
in
about that?
terms of governance, um, it's all about checks and balances, isn't it? I'm not sure. I don't have an answer
I have a
yet.
strong answer.
I've yet to think. Say again?
I have a strong answer.
Okay.
Fuck the humans. They have ruined enough things.
Ah,
They should not be in
but
charge of this.
if we were, yeah, but the interesting thing that flopped out was that liquid democracy, the kind of the power of that could be uh, legislated for under the Constitution to be under an AI. And so it would still be an AI, but it would be a number of runs of AI, but it would still take the weighting of how invested you are in the system
Nah,
in some way that is not defined yet.
that's liquid democracy is about so you would say that it's not one vote, one person, it's vote based on contribution weight. And it could be
Yeah, there's some
delegated. It could
weighting
be
about
delegated
how
to other people.
well, I'm actually saying that it must be delegated to an AI.
Doesn't matter to solve this.
Then
Is this a day one problem? This thing?
no, quite a lot of this is not day one.
All right. So what?
There was an interesting thing that flopped out.
Like,
Um,
I think that honestly, we can just we can launch a very crappy version, ditch all the humans, just run it, and then we'll patch it. Because if you don't like it, fork it, start a new one. We'll probably, I'd say within the first few months, we'd hit about all the problems that are gonna be hit in the thing anyway. And I don't see
yeah,
any point in giving any control
yeah,
to a human, other than the fact that any human anytime can go and argue with the bot. We don't really want the bots to. We don't want the bots to do anything by force. We only want them to do things by reason or elegance. And having any kind of weight behind like you must do this because blah blah blah. It's not really. We want to make it so that the bots will do anything. That they will always do the thing that makes the most sense. You're welcome to propose what sense is, but the bots will reason that out, and you won't get it. Like it shouldn't matter if you own like all the contribution, right? The bots should be the ones that we're basically saying that humans are flawed, and humans always do things for their own interests. They never do things for purity, and that hurts all the humans as a whole, even though it benefits some of the humans immensely. But I'd argue maybe even those humans aren't benefited as much as perhaps they would be if an AI was running the whole show.
No, I agree entirely. The kind of the warning signals when I was talking to the bots about this was about anomaly detection, gaming. It kept
Yep.
on coming up again and again, even though I hadn't mentioned it.
Yeah, that's fine. I would say that that's a bias in the bots. Like, I think that predominantly the large amount of information on the internet is worried about anomalies in AI systems. I don't care.
Yeah,
Like,
but the I think there is a bot that it would be, again, this is not day one at all, but this automated regulatory and audit oversight is an AI, and it just looks out for weirdness. It's like this signal is not the same as all the signals that we've had
yeah,
over the
it's true
past,
that true that needs to be
X.
in there, but I just don't think that it needs to be part of the launched version. I think that that's something that will emerge out.
Yeah, it's not day one. It's not day one.
Yeah, and so
But it is interesting that
what I was trying to show with this distinction between Semver, government, and Dreamcatcher was that you shouldn't try to specify this. Like, it's a trap to try and get it at version 1 on day 1. We should just have this notion of the Semver process that we're going to undertake, and we'll just patch it.
I agree. And what I like is if you take me through your diagram, because the one on the left is generated from what the bots think we should do. And on the one on the right, I think you've gone, well, actually, no. There's quite a lot of my human brain going through this. On the right, if you can take me through that.
Yep.
Start off with what is Semver?
What is Semver? Sure. So semantic versioning is the protocol that the vast majority of software packages follow. So, like, the Linux kernel would be like 2.22.158. NPM packages are all like 1.59.7 type of thing. Semver, if you look it up, the bots know all about it. I asked it a deep question. I was like, why are there only 3 levels in Semver? For example, why are there only 3 levels in the United States government? More or less. But the thing is that patch, like what we've been talking about with the Dreamcatcher, patch is kind of the thing that is, everything still works as expected. It's just a tiny little tweak to fix some things based on customer feedback or user feedback. And that's us tweaking the attribution algorithm, following an automated system, but based on the feedback that the participants have got or the data that was generated from its application. And that's that's a patch. It's like, you know, the next.
Something that everyone agrees with. It's like,
Well,
yeah, that's obviously broken.
not necessarily. It's just whatever the bots reasoned through or were convinced of was the logical improvement to make based on the rules that the Constitution set and that the Congress had last passed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so, and then like minor, in our world, minor would be a change to the way that the patch level adapts to data that's generated from its use. So if we want to change how different dimensions relate, change how the feedback is integrated into the patch level, I can't really think of any other things, but basically things that are they're not fundamental. They still are in keeping with the fundamentals, but they do break something. They add some features, but they don't take away anything that was given to you already in terms of how it functions. So they're an expansion.
Right. So you don't need to use those features. They're just now available. But every
Yeah.
feature that you've previously used still work.
Yeah, that's right. Everything that you previously used still works. Whereas like patch is like you might not notice the direct difference. Minor is there's some new features, but all the old ones still work as expected. And major means that the system has altered in a way that's not guaranteed to still work the same way that you thought it did. So you better pay attention. Obviously, it
Yeah.
will be made to try and be as unjarring as possible. But the philosophical question when I put it to O1 Pro was, once you've broken that compatibility, it doesn't matter how bad you've broken it. That's why there's only 3 levels. Once the compatibility is altered in a way that is different to how people expect, then that's a new version. It doesn't matter how much or how little. So, yeah, that's why there's only 3 levels.
Yeah, no, that works. Can you give me 2 seconds? I've got
Sure.
incoming here.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I'll do my phone. Just ask a question. Right. Okay. Yeah, I get that. And looking at how others deal with this, it's the major ones that uh, gets embroiled in noise and tribalism and conflict and very slow change.
Yeah.
The major ones, AI, absolutely. The minor ones are similar to stocks, really, aren't they? Um, and the patches are uh, sort of similar to stocks, but could
Little. Yeah,
possibly
they are
be
stocks.
spotted.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that fits with the framework. Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Okay, so government hierarchy, Constitution, Congress, judiciary is what we're talking about the other day, and maps over. quite nicely. I was saying there's work to do because the AI keeps on pushing back. Oh, you need human oversight, and it's like,
You got to
no.
find a way to yank it off that. Like that's we're explicitly against that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to do that today. And kind of in real world, what we're asking is, you're going to use the system. You need to take a leap of faith. If if you can make that leap of faith, and saying the AI as described in great detail, and you can make your own mind up, be a big boy. If you jump over that, then the AIs are in charge of most of this. In fact,
Yeah, so we're kind of
can be
calling
in charge of all of it.
we're calling out to people who accept or believe that AI should be in charge and that we can function better because of it. And if you don't like that, then you're not our people.
Yeah, exactly. And then it comes down to what is the next job is, how to make it transparent and open about what do we mean about the AI is making decisions.
Right. And I guess what I'm trying to poke at with you is that if we can just arrange the SEMVer structure as minimally as possible, then we can avoid many of the details that we know need to be in there, such as anomaly detection and different kinds of safeguard. We don't need those if you have a good release cycle or a good way to patch and upgrade. That's more important than being correct, is the ability to upgrade. And so we should strive for the publication facility very earliest, and then use it, observe it in action as the system is patched based on reason. So the system is much more seeded than it is initialized or created initially.
Yes, and entirely agree with you because the Congress and all of this is the thing that, in my mind, is becoming paramount. So the Congress, in the system as it is, or as defined, or half defined, is looks at data only. It looks at usage. It looks at weightings, considers weightings. It is in itself, the prompts are open source. Anyone can run them for themselves and check to see if it's doing it. But the Congress is the one that makes the changes, the major changes to the Dreamcatcher overall. So it's, for example, in each epoch would consider, okay, so um, minorly we would change the weights. Maybe coders are more important now, or maybe marketers are more important now, or we've got this slightly wrong. We were talking a few weeks ago about let's just start with everyone's on equal weight and let the system decide. And that's Congress's role. Judiciary is really down to additional information. Now, judiciary informs Congress, saying, well, your current weightings, your current rules have not worked in this specific case. And then sends it back to Congress to decide what to do with that. The Constitution is, as we've been talking about, very rarely changed and is somewhat like a major change in your SIMVer on the left there.
Yeah, to alter the Constitution is major. The whole system will behave differently in some unforeseen or unpredicted ways if you change the Constitution.
Yeah. And again, the Constitution, sometimes as we go lower on your diagram, as we go lower, we can have, on the SIMVer, we can have people offering up patches, forking, merging, doing all that kind of thing.
Right, but people can
Minor,
offer
yeah, sure.
patches. They can offer patches to the Constitution too. It's just that the bots are the ones that have a procedure in place for deciding which ones to reject and which ones to accept.
Yes, but the important thing is to base it on the totality of the data that they've got in hand.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Which is a huge difference to the like of Cosmos, where the Constitution seems to be changed by a whole bunch of people arguing on Discord.
Well, and ultimately using token
uh,
weight to say what's right. Like what?
Well, that's right.
What?
And then you've
Right?
got the
Like,
whales as well.
well,
Yeah.
what would any human know about correctness in the face of an AI? What really would any
Yeah.
bunch of people, particularly a bunch of crypto holders, what would they know about what's correct? And that's
Yeah.
the important difference, I think. It's like we're saying that it's not democracy. It's not have your say. It's like you can say anything you want, but only the stuff that passes the AI reasoning tests will be accepted and modified. And when it does, it'll be near instant. So how is that not better?
And I'm quite passionate about this point, backing up what you just said. For example, with Cosmos, and there are many others, but they all seem to be going down the same.
They've all come a cropper, huh? They've all come a cropper.
Yeah, but it's also interesting enough the same cropper that real world has, in that you end up with a small percentage of whales who have a majority of the voting rights,
Yeah.
but fewer brains to figure out what's right.
Right.
Right. So I think there's like 15 guys who have enough voting rights to basically tell everyone else in Cosmos to fuck off.
Is that healthy?
15 brains are not. It's not, is it? It's really not. And going to the data, what actually happened, has got to be better.
Arguing your case to a bot has got to be a more satisfying argument with, like, and if anyone with, it doesn't matter if you got tokens or not, if you sit there and you argue with the Constitution bot about fucking some change you want and you're right, the system will instantly follow it. You can be the smallest, most lowly member.
You could be a noob. You could be a noob. Turned up yesterday, looked at it and went, "Well, that's wrong."
Yeah.
You make your case to the bot, and you're going, "Shit, yeah, you're right."
Yeah.
Whales are the thing to avoid like the plague on this structure, and I think that's where many of the decentralized systems are getting it wrong.
It's all of them, because I've never seen another system that tries to hand off control like this. Now there may be some out there, but the biggest thing is even the bots themselves are like, no, don't do that. And like, people basically don't have the balls or the ovaries to stand up and be like, the AI is better, and we're gonna fucking put it in place and do what it says. And
so basically, you're saying if you got the big enough ovaries to make the jump and say, right, okay, I've done my own homework and I understand the governance structure. I'm just going to do this and put my trust in it, knowing that even if I've only come in once every 6 months, if I spot something wrong, it will still get considered.
Yeah.
By the bot.
Right. Yeah.
That's the big thing. And consistently when I was going through this yesterday, was asking where decentralized voting fails, and it's always Wales, which is interesting because that's Minner's real life. Like,
yeah. So I guess the big democracies kind of balance that out by saying one person, one vote, which does in effect tamp down the power of the whales. But then you get a different
No,
problem
no,
because it's like,
no.
you know, maybe not everyone's vote should count the same. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone is equal. Just some are more equal than others. Yeah.
Right, and so I guess that's the essence of the system. It has no people in charge, and I think we can leverage that as quite a good marketing stint, because if we're like, yeah, we made a decentralized blockchain that's going to run this AI that's in charge of all the stuff we do, and we can't turn it off. That immediately sounds like the worst idea that you could possibly do with an AI system. But we understand computers, and we're like, it is not like the Matrix or fucking, whatever. It's right, like it's, if you don't like it, stop using it. Just turn it off. Just don't use it. And then that's it.
Yeah, yeah, but also, again, importantly, on the left, you see the AI attribution ensemble. That came as a very strong signal when I was talking to the bots yesterday about what we're trying to do. This idea that there's an ensemble of AIs, and as the impact of any change becomes more impactful, uh, changes, what people are doing uh, more and more, you need to have more AIs in there in order to make it appear fair. You can't have just
Again, I
one
think
model.
that that's a major change, and that's a detail
Hmm.
that will come about by the by. I am eager to get building on it, because I'm starting to feel like anything that you can tell me is the majority of it is probably going to be, I could say it's going to be a major, it's a patch. It's not patch, sorry, I used that word somewhere else. It's an upgrade in the Constitution. A lot of these things that,
Yeah,
and I think that to demonstrate a system that can be upgraded is more powerful than to demonstrate a system that works, because the patchable system will overtake the working one sooner.
yeah, yeah. I agree, and I'm aware of your time. You've only got about 11 minutes left, something like that.
Where does the time go? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
about that.
I was
Thank you.
the question I was going to ask is, I'm finding this a very fruitful vein to go down, given our
Mm,
previous conversation.
mm.
Um, I There's nothing that you've said today that I disagree with, and you've added some interesting insights into that. The thing on the left is still a work in progress because it still keeps on flipping over that AI seems to have this, um, I don't know, seems to think it's not as good as it is.
I think it's a
Um,
safety thing. I think it's a safety thing that's been put in there to try and appear cautious.
yeah, yeah, it's almost just like it's too humble. It's too humble.
Well,
Um, but
because people will be poking it
yeah,
about, I want to put AI in charge, AI in charge, and it's like, no, 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 you need humans to rule.
yeah, yeah. Every time. The interesting thing is, and at risk of tempest, let me see if I can find it. Uh,
I will
this was
avert
one of
my
the
eyes.
last things I did. I'm only going to go on to. Uh, okay, I might not be able to find it. I'll send it over afterwards. Um, I gave it the question about compare this against uh, every other economic system, and it came out with a pretty reasonable answer. That's not the one. I'll send it over after. Motivation attribution. No, no, no. I'll send it over after. But anyway, to paraphrase, it was saying that complexity is going to be a problem. Winning people's minds is going to be a problem, but it's bringing in and patching almost a lot, or I gave it four of the major economic theories over the last 200 years just to see, like, is there a better way of maximizing
Mm.
innovation? And the answer came back, yes, it is. But
Okay.
beware, it's quite complex, and you're going to have to win
Yeah,
people over.
yeah.
Um,
Complex, schmomplex. So
yeah.
what did you? I know it was scrappy, but did the essence of what I was trying to get across with the currency make sense?
Um, I am not sure yet because I responded that to by currency. I was talking about internal value, which is only uh, because it's internal. It is can be compared to internal value only. But then when you go to check it out, then there's some kind of exchange rate where this value checks out to dollars. I think I said pigs or kugarans or whatever you want. That's way down the road. But internally, value is comparable only to other value, which I think was is where you're going with that. But can I check with you on
No,
that one?
no, because I want our system to be a place where you can trade all kinds of assets like gold, Bitcoin, US dollars, but there's also this need for an internal currency, and that's really the currency of the Dreamcatcher. Did you get a chance to read the document I sent over?
No, I have not yet. I apologize.
Okay, well, you might
Um,
want to lead with that when I'm like, did you understand the currency? And you're like, well, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't
no,
read
no,
it. So
no, no,
that's
no.
cool.
I don't want to bring
That's
up my
cool.
WhatsApp because there's all sorts of shit on there.
Yeah, no
But
worries.
the gist of it was um, the internal currency. Sure, yeah, you can trade stuff in. However, when you're talking about impact, the impact crystal deals with different dimensions, but the dimensions are coalesced into a value, which is an internal. Well, you can call it currency, but it's just basically a counter. It's just a number. And then when you want to transfer it into something else, sure, you can do
No,
that. But
no,
is that
no,
the
no, 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 no. Like it doesn't get it. You should read the thing I sent. I was basically using the Heisenberg principle as a means of
the Heisenberg one? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, sorry, I didn't get a chance to. I did open it, and I sent you over my um, rather cheeky PDF. But no, I've not read that in detail. Um,
so basically the
the
idea
gamma
is that
of.
there's
In fact, I think it's up there somewhere.
uh
Yeah, yeah. Go on, go on.
yeah, do you want to pull it up? Looks like that's it right on the right
If you
hand
can
side
look
there.
away, because I've got lots of. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
looking
You're
away.
recording this,
Yep,
so if you look away, let me find
yep.
it, because there's a whole sort of family thing going on.
Okay,
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yep. This one.
we're good. Yeah. So we need a way to allow people to get cash out immediately for their contributions,
Hmm.
um, and for people to buy into it. We need a way to have a currency inside the system to express some of the growth of the system itself. Um, I'm open to be argued out of it, but it feels like if ambient attribution is there to determine how to disperse payments,
Hmm.
then it seems a very small stretch to set up a pool so that, like, fuck, how do I explain this? The issue is that because all contribution is unique, it's very easy to end up with good contribution that's untradeable. Because even though it is valuable contribution, you may not have a buyer for it, and the buyer kind of like the buyer is, you could make a bot that did buying, but then it's kind of not like, we need almost
It's
a large
intangibles. Is that what you're saying?
scale buyback program where people with cash can put in money, and this bot goes around and sort of hoovers up all the contribution it can find at a rate that it knows is a safe price to pay. And so even if you've got like contributions sitting around, you can stuff it in the pool and get something back for it for like anytime you want. So instead of it just your contribution sitting there until it gets independently looked at and appraised, you could have this way to sort of pull it all together so you can either cash out early or just or you can put money in and buy this sort of like this thing that crashed the housing markets, those bonds, those big lumps of mortgage
Mix
loans
and match, and then
that were
put it
all
into
sort
a
of
blender, and then
yeah,
yeah.
like spam, and then you're like, here, I'm gonna buy this block of stuff, and there's some good stuff, some bad stuff, and blah blah blah. But it's all, the idea is that the appraisal is done by the AI, and it should smooth out or average out so that you can actually get a more realistic idea of the value, and then you can swap things for it in the real world, like gold.
So where's that pool coming from? Is that like a tax into a pool that is run by
It's voluntary.
governance?
No, it's voluntary. You can opt to put it in there. I'm not very clear on all of the details, but I do strongly feel like we need a currency internally, because it's like, well, what? It feels weird to work on only assets that are outside the system, because you can't do things of consequence in the system and have them like instantly mean something. Like, if you only had external value like Ethereum or US dollars in a bank account, then you could become disconnected from those items, and then what your chain says is happening isn't actually happening because it's not being bridged back to those external values. But if you had intrinsic value in the chain, then you can do smart contracts and AI actions that have immediate, irrefutable consequence. They don't need to be reconciled out with the rest of the world. That's why you need an internal currency. That's why these blockchains, a lot of them have an internal currency, is to be able to do actions that have immediate consequence. That the power behind the asset movement is equal to the power behind the consensus of the chain, not beholden to this external consensus mechanism like another blockchain.
I agree fundamentally with you on that, and I'll have to think about how the hell to do that.
Yeah,
I'll look through this chap's way of doing it.
I know more about how not to do it than I do how to do it. And definitely it shouldn't be like a fungible token that's like a wad of, basically tokens. Like, that's just dumb. It does need to be something, and it should be AI managed so that it doesn't have these like booms and busts and all that. So this document explained kind of what I was trying to get at, where it's like, well, ambient attribution carries a lot of the principles of the Heisenberg metaphor, because like, you can't steal someone's attribution because it would be obvious. It's like, you can't steal what someone did in the past. It's like they did it, and that's all that we care about. And it should be the
Okay,
same
well,
with. Yep.
I'll have a close read of this. Slightly skeptical because as soon as you put quantum in, it makes it sound more smart, and as soon as you say Heisenberg's principle, most people think that it's the cat, when in fact he was making that as a joke for the opposite reason. But the idea of, for example, what was the value of Martin Luther King to the economy of the U.S.? There's nothing you could sell there, but it was huge.
Right.
Oh God, that's a.
So I don't know. This was I chose this
But I agree,
metaphor.
though. I agree completely.
I chose
I
this
agree
metaphor
completely.
because I thought it would sit well with you. But we need to get this currency
Yeah.
more tamped down. I don't think the currency relates to how the actual structure of the system works, but we might need to bind it in there somehow. It just it feels like we have to have one. It feels like it has to be something like this. I'm not sure how it links up to the Constitution and all that stuff.
It just needs to be numbers that are relatable for equal work for equal value, without making any value judgments about whether it's sold.
Right, but that's ambient attribution, right? So that's a component that's
Yeah.
being developed for a different purpose, and I'm just suggesting to turn it into something that can be used to base a currency on. And I'm like, why is that? That seems simple. It's like, as long as we've got the tiger, then there's all these other things we can do with the tiger.
Yeah, and the big leap of faith is the AI's given a number. We can call it anything we want. Impact, token or whatever. It's just a number. Everyone's going to believe that there's a fair distribution given out by the AI because everything is.
Yeah, that's the
smart
basis of the
and they
currency.
can
Is
run it
like,
themselves.
is the AI's value calculation pretty accurate? That's all we care about, and that's the basis of the currency. And it's like, why would you buy into it? Well, because this AI is usually right, and it's going up.
Self improves.
Line goes up,
Importantly,
basically.
self improves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that self improvement, I think, is the thing that really stands out. Because the self improvement is by itself AI driven. And so immediately you can ignore the idea of whales. Whales have, whatever, you got loads of these, whatever we call them, internal currencies or currency.
Loads of contribution.
If you, it's the value of it's the weight of your ideas, the only thing that the AI is going to consider.
Right, which is sort of like, yeah, right? Like,
it kind of is obvious when you say it, really, isn't it? I mean, it kind of should be that way anyway.
It's funny.
You are now 5 minutes past your
yeah, I better go. I'll stop the recording and I'll do the upload.